Hello, and welcome to Cabaret Beat. I'm your host, Wydetta Carter, and as a singer-actress myself, I am excited to bring to you this new virtual series from the Chicago Cabaret Professionals. Until we can all come to the cabaret again at all our favorite spots, we are coming to you with some of your favorite singers, new voices you may not have heard before, their stories, and of course, great music. Today's guests are Gale and David Edelfelt. There's never been a more important time for us to engage, connect, and share our experiences through music and conversation. So, let's join in the chat, share with your friends, and let's begin the Cabaret Beat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
In between goodbye in between goodbyes, whenever we're together, you and I, we each keep an eye on the door, 'cause history repeats itself, and we both know what's in store. Ours is the strangest of romances, a series of goodbyes and second chances. In between goodbyes, the passion's getting stronger. In between goodbyes, the time is getting longer. And so, with open arms and open eyes, we'll love each other in between goodbyes. We promise not to promise anymore. We say that we've learned from the past, but every time I look at you, I believe it will last. Sometimes a promise is for breaking, and you're the one mistake I'll keep on making. In between goodbyes, the passion's getting stronger. In between goodbyes, the time is getting longer. And so, with open arms and open eyes, we'll love each other in between goodbyes. In between goodbyes, the passion's getting stronger, stronger. The time is getting longer. And so, with open arms and open eyes, we'll love each other in between goodbyes.
Oh, hello, Lou Gale.
Hello, Wydetta.
Oh,
It's so
welcome to
nice to see
Cabaret
you.
Beat. Oh, great. I'm so happy you're here. Thank
Well,
you so much for doing this. So, I want to get started right away talking to you because reading your bio that you sent me, you've got a lot going on. So, let's go back. Let's go back to childhood.
yes,
Your mother was a former vaudeville performer,
yes.
and go.
She was a dancer in vaudeville. And when she came in off the road, which was way before I was born, um, she taught dancing. And then she used to put together little shows. I think she started because she was friends with people that ran the Knights of Columbus and the Ladies of Isabella, and then she was doing things for Heinz Hospital, and so she would put together little shows for them for special events. And she had this 3-year old that never stopped singing anyway, so she thought, well, let's capitalize on that. And so she would teach me little songs. I had a medley of uh, now I can't remember the "Give Me a Little Kiss" and another song, and then she taught me "When Francis Dances with Me" and put me in a little costume, and she taught me "Santa Claus is Coming to Town," and so whenever I do that at Christmas time, my patter is usually the first time I performed this in front of a live audience was 1946, and I was almost 3. You do the math.
Oh my goodness.
So that was
Wow.
my first experience, and I'll never forget the first time I went on stage. My mother very wisely said to me, "Now, you may hear some people laughing, but they're not laughing at you. They're laughing because you make them so happy." Well, she created the biggest ham on earth because
That's all you needed.
I have no idea what stage fright is. It's like, okay, showtime.
Wow.
So
Wow.
she gave me very much. I mean, I can remember being in the kitchen with her, and a song would come on, and we'd break into a little soft shoe that she had taught me, and my dad would be yelling, "Is my dinner going to be late?" And and my mom would say, "He's getting dinner and a show. I don't know what he's complaining about."
Dinner theater. Hello.
Right.
Did he
Right in
understand
his
that
own
was called
home.
dinner theater?
So
Oh my gosh.
she was wonderful, and she gave me my love for live performance and musical theater, and I owe her a ton.
Okay, so how long though did you perform before? Because you took a 35-year hiatus, you said. So let's get up to that
Right.
before you,
Well,
you know.
I do remember that in junior high when we had dances and stuff, before the dance was over, the kids would always say, "Get up on the stage with the band and sing. Get up on the stage with the band." Um, so, I would do that. And then, of course, then I started college. Then I did a community theater play. But then, career and getting married and having kids, which is my best career, um, took over, and I really didn't think about it. So, um, at one point, I moved into this new condo. I had been in Arizona doing real estate for 10 years, and the kids wanted me back in the Chicago area. And I got settled in, and I said to my oldest son, I think I'll get a little part time job just to have something to do. And he said, "Mom, just sing."
Mm.
And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You love to sing. You've got a great voice. Put together some songs, go to a local restaurant, volunteer to sing through the dinner hour. You'll make 50, $60 a night in tips." I went, "Oh." So So I started putting together a repertoire. By the way, it's a little more complicated than that. You have to find musical background, get it on your computer, buy a microphone and a sound system. He didn't think about
Right.
those things.
He made it sound so easy,
Yeah,
but
yeah, he does that. He so there was a karaoke bar right around the corner, and I thought I'm going to go over and try out some of these songs, see what kind of audience response I get, and so on. And that went very, very well. So well that man that was mounting Guys and Dolls hired me on the spot um, to do Guys and Dolls with him. General Cartwright wrote me a solo one. So then I kind of got into musical theater and worked with that for a while. Now I have my own little theater company. Um, in the meantime, I went to an open mic that Mark Burnell was running right here in my neighborhood, and so I met some cabaret people there, and they all said you have to come to Petorino's, and so I went with them to Petorino's. Then we were finding other venues. Then I became acquainted with CCP and became a member and did Strut Your Stuff with them and Merry Measures. And the people I was working with Elizabeth Doyle for Strut Your Stuff. And she said, well, you have your own cabaret show, right? And I said, well, no. And she said, well, wouldn't you like to? I went, okay. And the next thing I know, she and Dale Calandra are writing a show for me
oh
called,
wow.
called Broadway Broads. And they said, by the way, you do want to do this, don't you? And I went, why wouldn't I want to do this?
We're going to help you with this, but do you want to do this? No.
Yeah. Yeah, we got this really neat show put together. See if you like it.
And where did you perform that show?
I did that at Davenport's. I
Okay.
did that at Davenport's in the back room.
Oh
And it
wow.
was
Okay.
called Broadway Broads, and it was the song that the older women in Broadway would do. The Miss Hannigan, the grandmother from Pippin, um, the songs from Mame and Dolly.
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of songs. So it was a lot of fun, and
So how many shows do you have now? That was your first one that they put together for you. So how
right.
many do you have now? 3?
Well, then I got back into my theater company, and we did Fiddler on the Roof, and I got to play Yenta and produce and make 42 costumes. And
So you did it all.
kinda. No, I had a wonderful director. He was great. Um, and then I did another show at Theater Wit. It was an
Okay.
original musical called Love Affairs and Wedding Bells, and Judy Rossignolo Rice directed that for me, and so that went well. And then we were gonna do Annie, and then we slid into COVID.
And were you going to be Miss Hannigan?
I I was thinking of letting Judy play the Miss Hannigan. I mean, I end up building sets and making props, and I would have been happy to be a background person and let her do that, but that didn't happen. So now we're kind of talking about maybe doing Gypsy, because that's a
Okay.
role that Judy would be fantastic at.
That's a great show too. Great music in that show as
Yes.
well. Well, okay, so I want you very quickly, if you could. You said that you were someplace where you sang A Wonderful World, and that led to a free trip to Maui.
Yes.
Come here there, tell me.
I was at a resort, and surprising, I left the dining room and in the clubhouse. So I was walking through the clubhouse. There was this little three-piece um, band, this little trio playing a piano, a bass, and a drum. And I thought, oh, this is nice. So I sat down to listen. And after 2 or 3 songs, and honestly, I was just listening, the drummer turned to me and said, "Are you a singer?" I well, the answer to that is always yes.
Yes, I am.
And so he said, about the same time, a woman had just requested Wonderful World. She said, "Can you do Wonderful World? I love that song when Louis Armstrong does it." And so he said, "Wonderful World, would you get up and sing that with us?" And I went, "Okay." So I did Wonderful World. After the show, I sat and talked with her for a while. She was thrilled. The next day, I was at lunch with some other companions, and she saw me in the lunchroom, and she came by and handed me a note. And so when I got back to my room, I looked at the note, and it said, "I'm just so grateful for that beautiful song that you did, and I wanted to show my appreciation. So I have a condo in Maui. Anytime you want to go use it for a week or two." You, so I literally got a Hawaiian vacation for a song. I mean, you've heard people say that for a song.
Right. For a song, I'll get that. Oh, wow.
For a song.
For a song. That's all it takes to get a trip to Maui?
Well,
Wow.
I don't know
I mean,
anybody else that's been able to do that, but
well, see, you can not only sing for your supper, you can sing for a vacation too. See,
sure.
it
There
works
we
out. That's great. And have you taken the trip?
go. Yes, I didn't have a lot of time to spend, but I took a quick trip, and we've been in touch and have become kind of friends. So
Well,
that was
that's
lovely.
wonderful. Wow. Well, I love that story. Okay, anybody want to send me somewhere? Let me see. So, before we close, just reflecting on this last year, is there anything that you've done to change, like the music you choose to
Well,
sing or listen to, or
I took it as an opportunity to really fine tune my instrument. I've been studying for a little over a year now with David Edelfelt, who you're going to talk to next. So he's kind of my mentor and my muse. He's wonderful, and so he's helped me in that way. And then I've just tried to increase my repertoire and refine, the musical numbers that I have in my repertoire, so that when this is all over, I'm ready.
there
I'm
you
ready to
go.
hit the ground running. No, I'm ready to hit the ground singing.
There you Wow. Well, Lou, I can't believe time has flown by so fast. But
Neither.
I can't let you go. Nobody can leave this show without singing for us another song live. So,
And what
what
do
are
I
you?
get for this? Was there a trip involved?
Oh, no, when all is said and done, I'll have everyone over and we'll have a drink and everything. But no, that's the trip across town. How about? I wish I had a place in Maui. Um, so what are you going to sing for us?
I'm going to sing "They Can't Take That Away from Me" because nobody
Beautiful.
can take this away from me. The way you wear your hat, the way you sip your tea, the memory of all that. No, they can't take that away from me. The way your smile just beams, the way you sing off key, the way you haunt my dreams. No, they can't take that away from me. We may never meet again on the bumpy road to love. Still, I'll always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, the way we danced till 3, the way you changed my life. No, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away from me. We may never meet again on the bumpy road to love. Still, I'll always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, the way we danced till 3, the way you changed my life. No, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away from me.
Lou Gale, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This was a ton of fun.
So I hope that you're enjoying Cabaret Beat. Right now we are going to make the Singer's Stinger Cosmo, and we're going to be using the Chicago Cabaret vodka. We got our glass, we've been cooling off here. 2.5 shots of Chicago Cabaret vodka. Right there, and a little bit more. Okay, here we got 1 shot of Cointreau. If you don't have Cointreau, you can use triple sec, but believe me, it's not going to be as good. Okay, 1 shot of Cointreau. We got 1/2 ounce of lime juice right here. Got 1/4 ounce lemon juice right there. Then we're going to put a dash of cranberry juice, just a dash, just for color. There you go. Just a dash of honey. There you go. Let's give this a shake. Why a Singer's Stinger? Well, because it's got orange, it's got honey, it's got lemon, it's got vodka, and now we're just going to add a little bit of burnt orange and burnt lemon rind to this beautiful concoction that we're making up. Okay? Take a little piece of lemon, the shiny part down, right there. See that, how that lit up? That's beautiful. Do it one more time. Okay, let's do the orange. These oils light right up, right on top of that beautiful Cosmo. Drop that right in there. Drop the lemon in there. Put a nice wedge, a wheel of lime. Needs a little bit more color, don't you think? There you go. Now it's starting to look like a real Cosmo. I like it. And if you like it too, go out and find yourself a nice bottle of Chicago Cabaret vodka. Half of the proceeds are donated back to the Chicago Cabaret. I know you can find this at the Rogers Park Provisions North. You can also find it at the Liquor Barn out in Wheeling, and ask your local store to start carrying that.
I'm so in love, and though it gives me joy intense, I can't decipher if I'm a lifer or if it's just a first offense. I'm so in love, I've no sense of values left at all. Is this a playtime affair of Maytime, or is it a windfall? Is it an earthquake, or simply a shock? Is it the good turtle soup, or merely the mock? Is it a cocktail, this feeling of joy? Or is what I feel the real McCoy? Have I the right hunch, or have I the wrong? Will it be Bach that I hear, or just a Cole Porter song? Is it a fancy, not worth dreaming of? Or is it at long last love? Is it in marble or is it in clay? Is what I thought a new Rolls a used Chevrolet? Is it a brainstorm in one of its quirks? Or is it the best, the crest, the works? Is it to rescue or is it to wreck? Is this an ache in the heart or just a pain in the neck? Should I say thumbs down and give it a shove? Or is it at long last love? Does it have papers or is it a mutt? Is it industrial strength or has it been cut? Should I shout yes, yes, or murmur perhaps? Do I hear drums or bombs attacks? Is it for all time or just for a lark? Is it Granada I see or only Asbury Park? Will it be curtains when push comes to shove? Or is it at long last love? Is it at long last love? Thank you.
David Edelfelt. Hello.
Hello, Wydetta.
Welcome, welcome to Cabaret Beat. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your day with me.
Happy to be here.
So let's get started because there's a lot about you I want to find out. And I'm going to read this quote from your website to lead us off. It's by George Bernard Shaw. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. So please share with us your journey on creating David.
Fun question. And when you said it was a quote from my website, I'm like, well, that could be one of 40 different quotes. I'm a quote person. I love them. You know, I just think as artists, I don't know, maybe as people too, we hear so much about we have to find yourself. And I think the wonderful thing about being an artist is we get to create, we get to decide who we are. I mean, I will never be a 5'2" ballerina. I don't mean that, but as a singer even, there are so many different paths that I could take. And what I have come to believe is that the best one for me is the one that feels the most authentic and the one that feels like it brings me the most joy and the most purpose, because I think then I'm more likely to be able to bring that to an audience.
I love that. I love that. So when did this all begin for you? Take us back to childhood.
Oh my goodness. Well, given that this is not an hour-and-a-half interview, let me just say, I started taking piano lessons when I was 5, and I loved it. And gosh, right around that time, I started playing cello, and eventually I was playing clarinet. And finally, at age 15, I started singing, or started studying voice. I was singing my entire life. And I decided to go to college for music education, because my dad said, you know, if you're gonna be a musician, you got to be a teacher. And so I went and got my bachelor's in music education, and I found that, not to be immodest, but I was the best vocalist in my college, and I was getting all of the opportunities to perform in these highlighted, spotlighted moments. And along the way, I was also singing at the local church. And I had an epiphany one day when I was singing there. I was at the same time preparing for, I think it was my junior recital at the time. And I found that what I was preparing for church meant more to me than what I was preparing for the recital. And I gave myself to it differently. And I just thought, I just remember thinking, I get to choose what I sing, and I get to choose something that feeds me. And from then on, I had a whole different relationship with choosing music.
Hmm. Okay, but your career is so eclectic. You do musical theater, you sing opera, then you'll turn and sing, you'll do standards, you'll do jazz. So, when did you start? Let's do this. When did you first touch base with opera?
So I mentioned I was 15 when I started studying voice. And the only reason I started studying voice was because I got the lead in the musical at school, in high school. And the director said, if you're going to sing, this much music and have this big of a responsibility, you better learn how to sing. So I went to a voice teacher, and I said to her, she was working with me, of course, technically, and she was classically trained, and she had opera singers who were students of hers. And I said, I'm happy to study voice, but please just don't make me sing any of that opera crap. And she said, okay, fine. And so we worked on getting me ready to play Curly in Oklahoma at age 15. But along the way, I started to listen to classical singers and be not so much drawn to doing it, but just impressed by what they were doing. And so a few musicals later, and graduating from high school, going on to college to do my bachelor's, I started to get the opportunity to perform in operas. And so it was in college that I started to sing opera. And it was fun. I liked it. It was challenging, but it never was where my heart was. So the last time I sang an opera role, when I finished my master's, I came from upstate New York to Chicago, which is why we're here tonight. I came to do my master's at Northwestern. I sang the role of Leporello in Mozart's Don Giovanni during my master's degree at Northwestern. And then I started to do little opera roles with smaller opera companies in the Chicagoland area. And I think the last one I did was maybe 2 years after I finished my master's. And by then I had gotten the bug to start teaching singing as opposed to performing more. So that's when that transition happened.
Tell us about some of the shows that you have done, your cabaret shows. What different styles have you put together?
Well, like most people, when I decided, first of all, I should back up, because I started teaching full-time. I mean, I've been teaching voice since I was in college, but I started teaching full-time voice in 1991. And I mentioned that I stopped performing, certainly in operas, as much as I had been, really because I just felt drawn to work with people. I love people. I love working with people one-on-one. And after a while, I started to get this studio of some really great singers, and I started to go to their performances and slowly shifted from, gosh, this is so much fun watching my students, to, wait a minute, I really miss doing this. So I started to sing again, and with the kind and encouraging support of my husband, who said, "Why aren't you doing this?" I said, "Okay, I'm gonna join this CCP thing that I heard about, the Chicago Cabaret Professionals." And I started to be cast in, some little shows and not so little shows that they were doing, either at Davenport's or Drury Lane. And it was my husband, Anthony, who said, instead of going to see other people's shows, why don't you do your own cabaret show? And I thought, okay, I could do that. And what would I do? And like most people, my first show was all about me. I just wanted to sing about me, my life, my journey, and that was fine. It was called Everything's Going My Way, which is a line from Curly's song in Oklahoma. So it kind of brought back that whole era. And what I found was that when I started singing, came out of retirement, vocally speaking, I had spent all these years teaching and not all these years studying. And I didn't like the way I was singing. I had lost a lot of my facility. I had lost a lot of my ease. I had lost just this sense of singing like I used to sing very easily and naturally. And I wasn't happy with it. And so I had a big old dose of humble pie and said, okay, I'm gonna, set aside this persona of voice teacher in Chicago, which I had become known as, and found my own teacher again and started studying. And so I started studying again, I don't know, 2007, 8, somewhere in there. And, so I've devoted the last, whatever that is, 12, 13 years to working on my own voice. And not just with another teacher, also with myself. But I don't care who you are. We as singers always do better when we're trusting somebody else with our voice rather than we're just doing it ourselves.
Right.
And so I found, this newfound joy, not just in singing and performing on a stage, but actually singing well and doing it. I mean, I felt better about myself, which is the only reason I started doing more shows and eventually making a Christmas album that I made in 2012. And then my last album, which I made 5 years later. So it's been eclectic. And now my shows are, typically they were something about, because I will always at my heart be a teacher. I want to teach you what I've learned about life. And so I did a show called Life for Dummies Like Me. And,
Love that.
Even my CD is about better, right? It's things that make us better and things that challenge us to be better. But I've also ventured out into doing things that are a little bit more mainstream. Elizabeth Doyle, wonderful talent in Chicago. She and I put together this show, DeLovely, the music of Cole Porter, which we had the joy of bringing to Lapin Agile in Paris a year and a half ago. We're doing it actually next month in June. We are the headliners at the Cole Porter Foundation in Peru, Indiana. So happy about that.
Yay.
And my newest show, which I had just about ready to go last March, when all of our lives imploded with the pandemic. It was rescheduled for 3 months later and then canceled, and rescheduled for 3 months later and then canceled. And now I'm happy to tell you that Broadway Baritones will be debuted at Moraine Valley in August. I think it's August 8th, which is just a show I have so enjoyed putting together, highlighting the best of the music that we've heard on Broadway for the last 100 years from baritones. I mean, mostly across the board, baritones. And then I'm doing that same show in a slightly abbreviated version that'll fit into an hour version at Davenport's. Happy to announce it tonight, the third weekend of August. So
August is the month. August is the month.
August is the month.
Okay.
Yep, wow. It's starting to happen. We are coming out of quarantine. I'm so happy about that.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Well, with that, did you, because of what we just went through, have you changed anything in either of these two shows you're going to be doing in August as a result of the last year and not being able to, be in the same room and singing with people? Everything was done by Zoom like we're doing now. Anything that you've added or taken out?
It's interesting. I don't know that it had to do with the pandemic, but there's one song, I won't give it away, but there's a song that I put in originally in Broadway Baritones that has become, since it was written in the late 50s, and has sort of become a standard it's been recorded by dozens and dozens of people. I chose to put it in the show in the way that it was originally in the Broadway production, which is a much longer, much more involved, much more character development kind of song. And as I rethought it, I decided to go back and make it a little bit more of a standard mostly because I wanted to include some other things and I didn't want to take up so much time in the show with that one number. And it wasn't until you just asked the question that I thought, what is it I wanted to replace it with? And what I've replaced it with is a piece that will close the show, which, often we hear about the 11 o'clock number, right? That we get to the end of the show and here's the big dramatic moment. And I had that piece, which has been somewhat of a signature piece for me for most of my singing career. And that was how we were going to end the show. And I thought, it's a beautiful, dramatic, fabulous signature piece, but it's not my story. And I thought of another piece that is more my story, that I'm going to put those two pieces back to back and in the show. And you're going to have to come to the show and see it, because I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, I will have to come to the show. I'm looking forward to that, seeing what that change is. So
I am too.
Well, time flies. I wish I could sit here and just talk to you some more and more and find out more about what you're doing. But I'm so happy that August is the month for David. So we all have to keep our eyes and ears open and peeled for the times and dates again and again, because we're going to be there to support. We're going to be there to support everyone. Everyone is just waiting to get back.
I'm equally excited about being able to see some of my friends and colleagues and students perform in the coming weeks and months, as I am being able to do that myself, because we all have missed it so much. I can't even talk about it or I'll sit here and weep, but boy, have we missed it. And it's been great to do some live performances on YouTube and Facebook and, some of that stuff. But boy, getting bodies in a room and singing to people and watching their faces, there's nothing like live music, especially in cabaret.
Feeling the energy.
We're not just, this is what drove me to cabaret. Is it's not opera where the goal is stand and sing, and make it as beautiful as you can make it. It's let's communicate.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, before you go, you have to sing. So tell us what you want to do.
So as we know, it's Mother's Day. And as many people who know me, well, everybody who knows me, and some people certainly who will be watching this will likely know, as I lost my mom 2 years ago. And she lived with us here at the house for the last 7 years of her life. And what a gift that was. And whenever, I think I'll speak for myself, but I think it's true for most of us, that when we grieve, one of the most important things that we do is remember. And what I like to remember about my mom is not what it was like the last month, which was in December, that we had her, and the difficulty of that and the hurt of that. But I remember my favorite time of year, which was the fall, which was September, when we went back to school. And my mom took me shopping for school clothes. And my mom's birthday was actually in September. And there was something just magical about that time of year. We lived 2 doors away from a big farm. And often I would get home from school and I would change my clothes and I would walk down the street to the farm and buy produce that my mom would then make for dinner. And I just remember leaving our little suburban house and within 2 doors feeling like I was in the country, and there were these grain mills and cows, and it smelled like a farm, right? And here I was picking out fresh produce that my mother was about to turn into dinner. And so one of the songs that I have put in Broadway baritones is from the longest running Broadway show, The Fantastics, from the 1960s. And so this song is the beautiful Try to Remember from Fantastics. Try to remember the kind of September when life was slow and oh so mellow.
to remember the kind of September when grass was green and grain was yellow. Try to remember the kind of September when you were a tender and callow fellow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. Try to remember when life was so tender that no one wept except the willow. Try to remember when life was so tender that dreams were kept beside your pillow. Try to remember life was so tender that love was an ember about to billow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember. Although you know the snow will follow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember without a hurt. The heart is hollow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember the fire of September that made us mellow. Deep in December, our hearts should remember and follow.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wydetta. Great to be with you.
Thank you all for tuning in to Cabaret Beat. Please visit our website at chicagocabaret.org to learn more about us, view our monthly calendar where you can see when and where our guests and other members are performing, and also the different ways you can join and or support Cabaret here in Chicago. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.